Noon Mountain, we will be here with a new presentation. During this presentation, you may come up with questions. If you do, please use the Q&A button on your screen to send in your question, as all of you are muted on this presentation also. Raising your hand, don't raise your hand because we can't do anything with that. But if you put your question in your Q&A, that will help us help you. Your question will be addressed at the end of the presentation in most cases. Is that okay, Walt?
That's fine.
Okay. Now I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter, an ANA past president and professional educator of 38 years. Walt Ostromecki is a prolific hobby collector, writer, speaker, and youth family involvement activities educator. He has received numerous top numismatic honors, awards, including ANA's highest, the Farron Zerbe in 2020, and Numismatic News Ambassador Award in 1988. Walt will be presenting Beautiful Botany on Coinage from Around the World, Part 1. It's all yours, Walt.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending. I hope you enjoy the beauty that we have here for you to share. A program that we put together as a botanist, which is my background originally, as you'll see here on the introductory screen here. But Walt Disney perhaps put nature in a better sense by saying it's the wonderful world of color. And some of the coins and items you're going to see today are not all in color, but they're plants, but there is a plant next to it. My interest began here originally back in 1969 and 1970 as a UCLA student and graduate eventually. My professor here is on the left with me at a place in Costa Rica where we did some studies, but you'll see the word taxonomy used. And taxonomy is the key to the entire field of botany itself. It is the study. It is the name and culture and identification system that guarantees a plant is what it is as advertised or as known or as collected in the field. As you can see, this goes on here. So I want to go on to start here with something just before it, excuse me. But here's a Sweden 10 kroner note. I know it's not a coin, but it deals with Carl von Linnaeus. He was an early botanist from 1707 to 1778, and he is the father of taxonomy, which basically put is the plant classification or ID system. It is all in Latin. In other words, taxonomy, I have defined below the $100 note here, the 100 krona note, is simply defined as understanding the language of flowers. So flowers speak to us, at least they speak to us as botanists. And hopefully you that have houseplants or have gardens out back, that they speak to you. How do they speak to you? Well, color, style, they produce seeds, beauty. And the note itself is interesting on this note that it covers the process of pollinating a flower by bee. And I've identified just some parts for your interest. The students at UCLA receive a little more detail on when we do a taxonomy. But the female's parts in the middle there, you got the male part on the right side, you got the seed, the ovary, and the petals. So this is the process, but this is understanding the language. As mentioned in the introduction to this program, the first country to actually issue a colorized coin. Now, this colorized coin, the word I spelled does not misspelled. I'm using the Canadian version there for the 25-cent red poppy. It was for a Remembrance Day coin, and it was as a souvenir. And it honors, and they still do today, the sacrifices made for freedom of their soldiers and soldiers worldwide in World War I and II. This is the first time Canada issued a colorized coin. And since then, they've issued hundreds and thousands in Canada. And they've also produced at the various Canadian mints for coins around the world, as you will see a little bit here. But this particular one was in circulation, was released into circulation. There were 250 million of these 25-cent coins released into circulation. So that's a little bit of introduction to the beauty part. And here to whet your appetite is a few more of the colorized appetizers. Now you might want to know, well, how do they do the colorization or colorizing or printing on the coins? And if we'll take a look there at the notes, says all color is added by a special pad printing dots. Now, this is done individually on every coin after it's struck. Can you imagine the detail of the computer coins to do this, especially with the Nui coin, the $2 coin? It has a scented flower. I was hoping they put a flower scent, but they didn't. Again, Solomon Island. Look at the gold, the color there. Nature has beauty beyond belief, and flowers are part of that story of nature's beauty. Let's move on here. Here's one from Ghana. The holder there on the left side is where I purchased the coin in. It's a 50 cetus. It is called the Tree of Life. It's a silver coin. It's a non-circulating legal tender, of course, but look at the beauty. Now, each one of those colors is done separately on that pad printing that's done after the coin. So each blue, each green, each yellow, and so forth is added, as we mentioned earlier, on the coin afterward. But it's a lengthy process. And in some case, like this particular Ghana coin, only 250 proofs were minted. As I said, they're non-circulating, they're done for value. So you get an idea what the silver value, most of them are 1 ounce, some are 2, some are a little bit less. And we'll point those out as we go along, but this is a silver coin. So, for example, those of you that are numismatists on the left of your screen here, we've got what we call silver dollar money. Okay, it's a Bracacia, it's a lunaria. It's called the silver dollar plant. And the plant, here's the plant versus the coin. Now, this coin was done by, I forget the name of the company that did it back east, but this was done after. It was painted on there. You can see how different it is. This is a painting, not a dotted one, not done by any computer program. And here, of course, on the left, we have the silver dollars from the plant, the dried seeds. They are not edible. They're not dangerous. They're not toxic. But it's interesting to note that they're often used in black magic rituals. Something to think about. So rather than being on a table to play cards with as money, they use them here in other purposes. And on the right, you have the coin money plant, which is from China. You're probably familiar with it if you have a house plant. Now we're going to begin way back in my early days during the ancient times. We're going to take a look at some ancient coins. And I'll give you a chance in just a moment to see if you can identify a plant on a coin or a flower, shall we say. But this first one up is from ancient Greece. As you'll notice, we're talking 1100 to 330 BC. It's a Greca silver tetragramma, and it has a rosebud on it. I'm not too sure of the king there. He's got a lot of hair. Well, that's a different story. And on the left, you're going to see another one as well with the rosebud design. So these are some of the early ones. You can see they were handmade. So this could start your collection as it's done in mine. And these are expensive and hard to find. Okay, while you're there, if you want to do your chat room, or you can just listen as well. Here is let's just say an early BC coin. And you have any guesses perhaps as to what is pictured or what plant is pictured? You can use your chime in if you wish to. We can see that, or I'll give you a few seconds to think about it, but it's on there twice. It's the handmade, hand stamped.
Hey, Walt.
Yes.
Since we can see your next slide, we can see what it is. So I don't know if you want to.
No, that's why I wanted it that way. That's
Okay,
exactly,
good.
that's
Okay.
exactly what I wanted.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry, Walt.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Please interrupt anyone. So they can also see the too that, well, it's celery. And you may not realize the coin is not edible. However, the stalk of celery is. And the coin, as I mentioned, is expensive. It cost me over $3,000, and this was many years ago. It's not edible. You can get celery in the store. You probably got it during Thanksgiving for about $1 or $2 a stalk. But it's 90% water and just a little bit of fiber. Very good, aids the digestion. So we'll move on and give you a chance at some others later. Here's a couple of others to think about. You can see this goes way back. I don't own this particular coin because I don't have $5,000 to spend on it, especially. But it's a poured molten coin, and it has the fig. And you're going to see on most of the slides, the coin on the left and the plant or flower or seed or fruit such as this one in the program as it goes along. Here's another early one. I don't own this one. A lady friend of mine from Thailand supplied me the picture that she had. Her family was there and she is a waitress here at one of the Denny's restaurants. But anyway, it's the Thailand silver flower pack coin. And we seldom see this, and it's expensive, and it gives the date about 1239 to 1564 AD. And it was used in Lana, the northern part of the kingdom. But if you can, even as a botanist or a taxonomist, I can't identify this particular flower or combination of flowers, but it's there as well. Well, let's begin now with the United States coins with flowers. Can you think about perhaps a coin? And you'll see it on the other part of your screen here, which is going to follow this note. But think about a coin before we had the state quarter program. This is one of my specialties, penstemons here. But as you'll see, the first coin up, do have it, and you'll see the coin there. It's a 1935p old Spanish trail $50 silver commemorative coin. They run quite a bit. In this particular grade, Anthony Swiatek gave me this years ago, and I think I probably paid around $100 $150 for it. It was an MS-63 on my notes here that you're not seeing. But again, don't worry about the negative effects. You see, that's for the botany class that I teach for pre-med students. So you get a chance to see what it looks like. It's called you've probably seen it, Spanish dagger, or called the bayonet. All the flowers are edible. They're juicy, they're sweet, they're nutritious. So if you get lost in the desert and you see these flowering trees such as this Joshua's, they are edible. The fibers inside the stalk are not edible. Let's move on here. Well, let's take a look at the first one. I put my home state, USA, the Connecticut state quarter. And it has, as you probably know, the charter oak. And on the right, you see a picture of it, Fagaceae quercus alba, and that's the botanical name for it. Okay, but is there any color to it? Well, that's why the slides here to give you an idea. But the next question, as you're seeing on your slide coming up, what if, here's a 1999 one that was painted beautifully, not very well done because you can see the difference in the paint versus the computer dots. But just think what could have been if the U.S. Mint had colored or color enhanced all 50 state quarters, regardless of whether they had flowers or something else on them. What a spectacular collection it would have been. And of course, as we're going to follow up next, we will come up to the Arizona. It has two. It actually identifies the cactus there, the saguaro. And on the lower part, there's something called a puntia. It's just a round pad leaf cactus. You can see it there in the color below here. And you see the saguaro in the back. This was taken from the Tucson area many years ago. And then again, well, here's the Tucson. Here's the interest here, the saguaro flower and fruit. Be advised, the flower is not edible. It's just sweet smelling and beautiful, filled with a lot of pollen. It can be dangerous to you for stomach issues and perhaps even heart issues resulted if you should eat the flower itself. However, the fruit is very edible, fleshy, juicy, raspberry-like in taste, and the seeds are just wonderful to do. And we'll go on next to the Georgia. Well, of course, we all know the Georgia peach, but think if the coin had been colorized. Look at the beauty in just a picture of it, and that's one of the benefits we'll see throughout the program today. South Carolina, of course, it has the palmetto tree. And I don't know whether you know the interest on that as well, but during the Revolutionary War period, the forts were built out of this in South Carolina. The inside of the palm bark tree used on a fort outside actually absorbs and keeps a bullet at that time, or the bullet ball, from passing through the wood to kill the soldier on the other side. This was one of the ways that the U.S. or the Americans at that time faked out the British, I guess you could say, as to, gee, the soldiers kept popping up. They weren't dying. They couldn't figure it out. And here again, this is what it looks like in the yellow jasmine, as it's called, and it's not misspelled. So we'll go on next to the Virgin Islands. Here's one here. It's called a salt. Again, think if they were colorized. Well, now I'm going to move on to our colorized variety, and you'll be able to see some of the notes below it. So I won't spend time talking about the notes, but it'll begin here. We'll go with Algeria, Zimbabwe, and this is in two parts. So we'll go with today just about Israel, or maybe if we get time, we'll stop with Italy because it has a break for those of you with lunch. It has a colorized pizza with all the trimmings, including the olives and color on it. So that's something to look forward to. I'll make your thing. Anyway, as we shall discover, God's oceans of color are not all just blue. So Algeria, here we have. And we'll see, take a look at the coin. This is just a regular issue coin, and a botanist such as myself does see the color of a cornucopia. I was in Wisconsin recently visiting with Clifford Mishler, the retired CEO and, of course, a longtime editor with Chet Krause of Krause Publications, Numismatic News. And we went up to the very tip of Wisconsin where the city of Cornucopia actually exists in the United States. But yet, this will start getting, as I put reverse and obverse so you would know the difference. We're coming up, you're seeing Andorra. Okay, again, look at the color, but the botanist, the plant enthusiast, the gardener, the folks need to see that beauty of the coin. And that's why, again, that I put the flower here in color. Now, a narcissus is poisonous to eat the roots. So again, I'm not going to. Argentina, wonderful 1-cent peso coin here from 2017. This is the jacaranda, and it has very wonderful flowers. This is a beautiful street in some areas, and people love this tree because look at the color and beauty that's there to see. But the thing is, don't park your car under it. The oils that drop off it can damage your paint, and they make the roads slippery. So this street needed to be cleaned up before cars slid on it as a possibility. But the beautiful jacaranda is a great issue. Argentina, another one. This is some of the funnier ones. But here we have a 2018 2-peso coin with the ceiba tree. It's often called the drunken stick. And this is how, I guess you would say those that lived in the South American area dealt with drunks, people that were drunk. The butt there, if you look at top of it, of the tree, you see below it all the spines. That's how they would wake up a drunk at that particular time. But again, we're getting a reverse, and we'll be getting some color in just a minute, as you can see coming up. Argentina, wonderful coin. Anyway, this is a reverse on the left side, which is a colorized. You can probably see the dots in the center of the yellow part of the flower there. It's a 1-ounce silver coin and chamomile. Well, many of you probably use that for tea and other things, but did you know there's 135 different species? And the Armenian native plant is just one of those. Now you look on the right side there, you say, what's the obverse? Well, that is an actual artist interpretation of the chamomile flower. I love artists. They can put so much into it. Marvelous coin. You can get an idea of the value, and there's 10,000 proofs, as you probably will see. And we'll move on to Australia. We're getting into some of the most beautiful. I don't own this coin. It's a $150 gold proof from 1995, but it has Stewart's P. I mean, it's great to look at but look at the color that's seen there. And this one's so many of the Formosa there plants. It's just beautiful. Can you imagine what it's like? And it's a vine. It crawls along the ground. But can you imagine? You see these little things. Those are little eyes. Look at the red flowers. Look at the intricate detail. And that's some of the things botanists like me loves to see, and hope you will as well. Again, one of the things you probably see a lot for windbreaks here is this one from Australia. It's a $1 copper medal, actually, not specifically a coin, but it was issued as a 1-ounce non-circulating legal copper value token or copper medal. You get to see the beautiful flower. You probably smelled the camphor used in eucalyptus all over. Now I'll begin to take a look at some of the other ones. Another gold coin I don't own from 1995. I wish it did. These run about $3,000 or $4,000. Even back then when they were issued, this is 1/3 ounce gold coin. So not quite as expensive as you can see. But look at the flower here and look at the flower as the beauty is shown actually in nature. And Australia, along with Canada and many of the other British Commonwealth nations, have always issued a Poppy coin, a Remembrance Day. This is a card from one that I have from the Canberra Mint in Australia, 1920. It's a 1922 issue. Anyway, I get most of these when I attend the Royal Canadian Numismatic shows yearly. I've been doing those since about 2007, handling youth and other programs. So now we're coming up with one. You probably heard about this one. You saw a preview coming up. But here we have the Edelweiss, and these are on many of the euro coins. Now, it's the national flower of Australia, as I'm sure you may well know. But it is a beautiful plant to touch. Now, those are fuzzy paws coming out of it. The flower is actually the 5 things in the center around it. So it's much like a sunflower. And they do a great job here of depicting that on the coin. Too bad it's not colorized. This is a regular circulation coin. Another one from Australia. This is the Genetine. Beautiful flower. You can see the color compared to the regular euro cent that was issued in 2007 from Austria. And then again, we'll go another gold coin. This one I do not own either. A friend of mine loaned it to me, but you can see the fine gold 1 ounce, but look at the flower. But now see the campanula in the color. And it's just a beautiful one to see. And we're going to see with Austria coming up next, one that has a little bit of colorization done on this 1922 10 euro cent. Very small amount of silver colorized coin. But in Australia, the dandelion is not thought of as a weed like we here, like you folks may not want in your lawn. But it's a beautiful thing. It's also the flower we'll see later on in part 2 dealing with Ukraine. It is their flower of peace, happiness, and joy. So we'll be getting to, I promise, some. I just wanted to show some other things we have. The beautiful designs, the Bahamas one that's done here. Beautiful yellow flowers here of the Bignonias, Teconia. It's a yellow flower. And now you probably have these in your backyard. You've got the bougainvillea from Bahamas. Again, it's on the coin. They did a great job of depicting the coin. Let's move along. We'll move along to Bahrain. Here we see that you've probably seen these. You've got the phoenix. You've got your date nuts. It's on the coin, 50 files coin. And these have quite a little bit of value. They're hard to find uncirculated. Most of my stuff started out as uncirculated. And we'll move along to Bangladesh. You'll be seeing the next slide coming up, the actual colors. Coin, of course, here is above it. That's 2 water. Has also a shamrock above the nymphal. Bangladesh. This is also from when India, before India was broken up. After the British gave it back to India, they broke it up into West and East Pakistan. And so you see the flowers again being used. Many countries have used that and continue to use plants for them. Here's the other edition. Some of them nice ones. You can see a leaf here. You can see the leaf actually here from the Piperaceae betel. And it's just one thing to look at. I guess as a botanist, I appreciate it. Now here's one from Belarus, and it's one that's colorized. Can you see the colorized there in the coin? You look on the right side, you'll see what this is actually well, you might want to call it a plant fungus growing on a rock. You may have seen it out in the desert sometimes or along creek areas here if you've been traveled. But in the center of that particular coin is this, what we'd call black fungus. And it's a collector, non-circulating legal tender. So we're beginning to see some colorization. And Belarus issued many non-circulating silver and regular coins that were colorized. Belarus here again, you start seeing a little bit more in the colors. You're probably all familiar with the carnation. And it's on the coin, done a good job. They colorized part of it, not all of it. Seeds should have been colorized as brown, but who's going to say, but you get a chance to see the true beauty here. And again, another gold coin. This particular one I do own from Belize. So back in 1980, it was a lot cheaper. It was half gold, probably cost it was around, say about $545 today. So probably, back then was about $150 for me to buy. But you look at the orchids, and many countries issued orchids. Singapore did a whole series of coins. We could spend just one whole day on a program with 50 to 60 to 70 colorized both silver, gold, and just regular copper, nickel, silver, aluminum coins that were issued. Belgium, well, you've seen the Belgian franc here. Well, what does that oak look like? Well, here it is here. We have Quercus robur on the 5 franc coin. One's coming up. So if you all want to take a little break here and maybe begin next one by inhaling a little bit, I think you'll get an idea where we're going with Benin's coin. But here they have a 2010 100 francs. This is a gold-plated colorized coin. It happens to have the leaf of the cannabis sativa. And when I show this side, I allow my students in class or in the lab that they can inhale and they can enjoy it. The seeds, of course, as you know, are the part to reproduce it. It's used as many health issues and so forth. This was only 2,500 coins were issued, and they're all in proof. Now, the next one, I think you'll find that you can see coming up is the same one, a different one. This is a 2010 100 francs. Now, what it noted on the cover that this coin came in, the outside holder for it, of the cannabis, it says this coin was scented with cannabis. So if you want to inhale here and relax a little bit more before we go on the program, here's your opportunity. Or you can visit your state allows cannabis to be sold. You can visit their depository. But again, we're getting to see more colors starting to come in some of these coins, starting about 2007. Benin did other coins too, as you'll probably see here. We have a 2011 100 francs colorized coin with a lily of the valley, very nice plant used in many gardens for people at home. Very colorful, very dainty little flowers, and look how it's done on the left here. And Convolvularia is a great plant to have. It's got several species as well. We'll come up with Bermuda. Now we're beginning to see more color. You're probably all familiar with the hibiscus here. This particular species is from Bermuda, so that's an endemic species that grows, or a species or a variety that grows just in Bermuda. This is on a silver coin, 25-cent proof. And what there says there's 500 were issued. I don't know the value of it. There were these modern ones starting about 2011. Let's say start in 2009, around the pandemic time, are hard to get mini figures. They didn't release much, and things were done, in small quantities because of the pandemic worldwide. Another Bermuda, you get a chance to see what it looks like on the coin, just a regular circulation coin, or the oyster lily, and you get a chance to see the beauty there in the photo next to it. Next one coming up, you should enjoy. Here's one from Botany. Now, this covers some history too. This coin is one to have, and there were 100,000 of them made. 1 ounce silver. But this one shows the colorized rose in the center, which is worshipped. It's often called the coin of enlightenment, or the Metopeta lotus flower. And on the right side of the picture here, you see the obverse of the coin, which deals with the word of Buddha heritage. It says that at the Madhabi Temple, India, Buddha was under the tree where Buddhism was found. It was done certainly by enlightenment, as India states in its thing. Great coin, great history we can learn as long as seeing the plants. Bosnia Herzegovina, well, you're probably all familiar with the rose. This is a damask rose. very similar, very popular garden. There are over 13,000 different varieties, subspecies, and all sorts of created hybrids for gardens for the beauty of roses. Don't worry about seeing the medical issues. This is done for the students. I wanted you to be aware of it. Botswana. Here, why don't you take a look at the reverse of it? Now you'll notice what the tree looks like here, the columbosarium, which is the Mahone tree branch, not the player from Kansas City, but it's similar. You'll notice that there's bags, looks like hanging from it. Those are nests or place where bats and all sorts of other insects make in this particular tree. It's heavily protected with spines, a beautiful one, but it shows here a caterpillar on the coin, on the reverse side of it, which is actually can eat the leaves, but it's these here actually protect the tree from being destroyed by natural pests, something built into it. Brunei, you're probably all familiar with sorghum. You use it as a millet today. You can see it. It has several different coins here, a 2011 10 francs collage. And here's what the sorghum looks like on it as well. So to see some color added to it for purpose. Burma or Myanmar, just now called, here 1965. And these earlier ones here I found in many of the little 10 cent, 15 cent, so we say collector search boxes are called junk boxes of foreign coins with plants on it. And that's how I got started with this as well. But you get a chance to see what the plant looks like being harvested in Burma. It's a six-sided coin, quite interesting. Cameroon, here we go. And here we have their coin, the 2023 500 francs coin. It's a silver. It's a non-circulating legal tender. But it has an interesting thing. It's a garden of love. And flowers often express love. How about Valentine's Day? How about a birthday? How about a girlfriend? How about a first date? How about just for your grandmother? You see, and I put in here our botanical garden at UCLA, which is an everlasting tribute dedicated to her for her beauty that she endowed in many a botany student over the years while she was there. Beautiful coin. They're going to get better. Cameroon here. I'm sure you're all familiar with the pansy, violet and viola. I mean, it's a hybrid. But here we see the design on the 2020 500 francs colorized coin. Small amount of silver, but it has the pansy flowers on reverse. Now this one has dots, but it almost looks like painted on the purple part. You'll find that quite interesting. Again, look at the small mintages of some of these, silver coins, 1,000. They're hard to find for collectors. You can pay a fortune on eBay for all sorts of ones. But a lot of the ones that I'll get, as you'll see in this part, and especially in part 2, I got directly from the various mints. Canada, as we mentioned at the beginning, was the first. And they probably have at least 2 to 3 or 400 $1 and $2 non-circulating silver coins, $5 ones as well, and $100 ones with various colors of their natural silver maple leaf tree. Here's a beautiful red enhanced. Here's one that we took out when I was there a number of years back. I think it was 2007, outside the hotel. They had a little pond. And these were there to take a look at it. But the color, the 1 ounce silver. Another one here. This is not just the maple, but they've got all sorts of small denomination coins, which they have released regularly. Many of them at convention. This came from a convention in Canada in 2012. It's a 25-cent colorized. Now, this is a circulated coin to be used in circulation. But it's interesting to have the bumblebee, as we had at the beginning, it was about to take care of the center of the flower here to pollinate it, so it has a future. Another Canadian one here, beautiful $20 silver. They do a marvelous thing. And if you'll take a look at the center of that particular 2014 coin, it is a non-circulating legal tender, but it has 3 small diamonds placed in there. Don't have the value of the diamonds. Now, whether they're probably manufactured would be my guess, but they're actually embedded into the coin. This is something you have to see. you ever get up to the Winnipeg Mint, they'll have a tour of all sorts of their processes, especially how some of the colorized coins are made in Canada. And on the right, you get to see the flowers very close in color to look at. Another one, this is not colorized, but this is a gold coin. I don't own it. A friend loaned it to me from Canada, or the picture of it to use here. It's 2006, $350 1 ounce gold coin. So what's it about today? Well, I don't know what gold price was this morning. So we're looking at $300 value. Now, originally, the coin was sold, and we're talking back in 2006, according to my written notes here, for about $900 plus by a dealer. So this is a proof coin. It was proof only. But the iris was a beautiful plant to have. And again, we'll go with some of the poppies. This is one of my favorites. These coming up later, they've got more and more colorful on the coins. They put more color on the Canadian coins over the years. And this is a 2021 silver colorized poppy for Remembrance Day. And they've also added what? Their silver maple leaf in the center of the particular coin. But this was a 1-year Poppy Remembrance Day commemorated. Again, we'll take a look at another Canadian one. This is a $5 silver. Now you say, wait a minute. Poinsettias are red, aren't they, Mr. Botanist? Yes, they are. They absolutely are red. And even in Canada, they're red. But Canada does something to them during the holidays. As you probably can note here from some of the thoughts, they actually dip or paint purple oils over the red flower. And this naturally can be dyed, it's painted, it's used for Christmas holiday season. You can take a look at today of any of the Canada tours you might want to look at. They already have these purple flowers out for the holidays. So we have something unique. This is the second portrait of Queen Elizabeth. And again, Canada here, we've got the cherry tree. You're probably all familiar with it. 2016, notice they've got the $15, $20, $25. They went to making it more than just the 1 and 2, the loonies and toonies, adding it to all sorts of values just for sale. And these things sell out fast. We're looking at this beautiful Prunus Canada, another gold piece that was loaned to me. This is the Yukon Fireweed. And it's hard to say, well, what's a fireweed look like? Well, here's a $350 gold coin from 2004. And on the right, you get the opportunity to see what it looks like, the Cameron angustifolium. And then Canada will go on a couple. Yeah, they did a good job here on this $10 gold, $350 gold coin. Not in my collection. But look at the ranunculus here, Palustia. Look at the color, look at the dainty. It has all sorts of what you might want to call fuzz. We call it, leafless fuzz. It's easier for you to understand that than the other term as well. What we call pubescence type of thing in the botany field. Next, you'll get a chance to see, and we had a chance to see this coin coming up. It was at a Canadian coin show. I forget exactly which one, but here's the largest Canadian 100-kilo gold maple leaf coin. Don't know if you had a chance to see it. It was on display. I think it was a show and we were in Calgary, if I'm not mistaken. But if you'd like to own this coin, well, I don't know if the mint wants to part with it, but it is there. And we've got a couple of Canadian Mounties there that want to keep it safe. Of course, it's hard to pick up till you have to take a look at the side. It's probably 2 to 3 inches thick. Marvelous coin. It's properly mounted, but so I just want to show you a gold maple leaf. We'll go on to Cape Verde. Again, here's a 1994 coin from them, a 50 escudos. That's their national flower, the Messina. And that's part of the aster family, or sometimes people call it the composite family. Get a chance to look at its color and beauty as not on the coin. Another Cape Verde, 1994, 100 escudos on the back. And they didn't do too well designing the plant. The plant doesn't actually look as it does, but the sail or ammonium is just fascinating. You probably have a lot of them in your small rock gardens out back. A lot of them, people put them around ponds that they build. but it's a great fleshy plant and it's widely used and available for the Cayman Islands, of course, another beautiful coins to take a look at as we go through them. Again, these are not colorized, but again, colorizing in with the flower pictures here, I think help enhance and help us just understand the beauty. If you'll notice, they also have above the flower here an insect on the coin above the top leaf in the center. Nice job. The emperor fish. Another Cayman Islands one. The $2 rose. I'm not going to spend too much time. They didn't do too well at depicting the rose act. I guess it's hard to do. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. This is one here. Anybody ever like fungus on a plant, on a coin? I mean, I don't know why they ever did this particular one, but they did 5,000 proofs, and they're just as difficult to find as possible. But here's one from the Central African Republic, 2010, 100 francs coin, Rafflesia flower. It actually smells like a holy hell holy plant. It stinks. It's terrible. It's almost like what we have for the, shall we say, the death plant. It smells like a dead carcass, but this is, and its smell is long off. It doesn't last too long on the grounds, as you can see, but it's put in this particular silver coin. A marvelous thing they have fungus, as we had one earlier from Belarus. China, of course, well, you're probably familiar with many of the Chinese coins. Chrysanthemum is there. It's on also many of the Japanese flowers as well. But here's a chance to see what it looks like in color. The 2001 yuan coin. Go on to Colombia again. Again, taking a look at some of these plants. For me, it's fascinating study of botany to see how plants vary from different areas around the world and different countries, and how many of them were put on and used on coins. 2012 here, 100 pesos. This is the big monk's flower. It's a huge thing. Stands probably anywhere from 4 to 6 feet tall. Beautiful plant to have. Cook Islands, oh, they've done many. You probably had one of these slices for breakfast, or maybe you didn't. Maybe you'll have some of the juice later when you go out to eat. But a lot of the islands, especially in the oceanic area, South Pacific, put a lot of plants, their own ones on, as you'll see in this part, and some again in part 2. But the coconut, you'll see the other things as we go through, but the pineapple here, just a bromeliad. You have a lot of bromeliads for nice high flowers and colors. Reds, blues aren't very similar to the pineapple. They don't produce the fruit, but they produce the lush, beautiful flowers. Here again, something typical, an orange. And it's not endemic to the Cook Islands, but a lot of oranges are growing there. And you're all familiar with what the Rutaceae citrus looks like here. Cook Islands too. Well, we have something here. I love this particular picture. I found it on a screen. But they came out with a 2012 $5 silver coin, non-circulating legal tender, but with the palm growing in the, shall we say, the salt water. It's looking for a place to hopefully get up on the land eventually. But here's an actual showing of it sprouting at sea. So it's interesting. Well, this was issued for the Pacific Forum that they had in 2012. They issued this special colorized coin. Images of about 950, I believe. And again, Cook Islands, well, not so much so, but look at the intricate artistic design put in the back of this Australian Flora series, which was done for the Cook Islands by the Royal Australian Mint. Interesting. How coin doing the plant itself, not too hot, but it is a plant. From Costa Rica, I spent a lot of time down in here. And these particular coins called elephant ear plant tree. It's just a fantastic tree growing out in the savannah. And it's done very good job on the coin nicely. Notice I tried to pick a picture of the actual plant or tree to show what it looked like on the coin. Go on to others in Costa Rica. This is getting out into the rainforest area. But here's a 1975 5 colones coin. And it's got the coffee bean. You probably all had this, or if you didn't have that, you had the tea, you had the chamomile earlier to be shown, but this is what it looks like in natural. Now the berries vary to be picked. Once they turn reddish or reddish browns, they're ready to be picked. These are still young here on the photograph of the coffee, Arabica coffee, which you've seen. Costa Rica, again, another nice Conicolonus flowers. It's called the white non-orchid. I mean, yeah, this coin doesn't do that well to it, but the metal is nickel. It looks like silver. It's not aluminum. They do a process. They call this German silver. It's a process to make it look like it's silver, but it's not. So 20 Colonus, here's the actual orchid. Beautiful one to see. Same thing, Croatia. Get a chance to see the tobacco plant. You can roll your own here if you want to. You don't need it as you would with the cannabis plant, but here's it on the back, nicely done by the 20th coin. Cuba has some beautiful ones. They have a whole series. This is probably how they get a lot of revenue for the country, by issuing many of the colorized ones, and we'll see them as you're probably seeing coming up shortly. So 1980, here's a silver peso coin, white butterfly. Well, doesn't look too good, but look at the flower itself. There's the beauty we talked about. There's the color. There's the life, the intricate detail painted. It's amazing. And now here we have it. Well, Cuba doesn't do too well at colorizing their coins. Their minting process leaves a lot to be desired. But here's a 2001 1 peso coin with a Catalydia orchid. And again, the orchid has a different color. This is the one that's grown naturally there. And it's also can be here in many, many nurseries. But this one here, it looks like it's a person standing up and getting mad at you, want to grab you. So they did a good job at working it in. I wonder why. Cypress, well, look at this beautiful one here. What's it look like? Well, it's a one seed, it's a cypress tree, and here's the one seed with the coin. Here's the actual cypress tree growing in an area of the Cypress Islands itself. Beautiful tree. This one's probably about 60 to 70 years old in the picture, perhaps more. But so we find here, there's beauty. Ah, yes. Anybody want some grape? Cypress here in 1981, 500 mils. To the regular grape, you've all seen it. But the olive branch and dove here on the date, it's interesting. The date is 1960. So this is part of the seal on the coin. The coin is actually dated above it, 1981. But grapes are there. You can see the issue price, 4 million. Other cypress, here's a what you might want to call just an artichoke if you haven't seen it. This is small. It's not a Jerusalem artichoke that you find in the stores, but this is very similar. This is Centura Alchemist, and it only grows in a very small area of Cyprus itself. But the coin and the flower, the beauty that's there to behold. Czechoslovakia, well, if you haven't seen the linden plant, maybe you don't care about it or the ears, but it's on this particular one. It's braided. They worked it in this 1947 coin. So these coins with flowers go quite a while back. The tilia here is a hybrid species with the European variety. And I'll move on East Caribbean states. I'm in the Caribbean area. You issue this particular one. Now, what they've done to the base here, they put all sorts of mold and other grasses. It almost looks like it's rounded around the base. The plant is actually in the center. All this is like in a rock garden area with something that was added. You can see an idea. Well, is it the oxalis here, the leaves? No, this is a rock. They're here. This is all rounded. The oxalis would be right in here in the center of it. And if you can see the arrow on this $2 coin. Fiji will go on. Here's one here. Again, one of the islands. Sugar for the world. Some of these were FAO issues. You know, Food and Agriculture Organization issued many of these coins, or were issued on behalf for starving world to get sugar. But can you imagine rice plant is sugar for the world? Never thought about that. It's hard and it's high in carbs. Not good for people like me that are diabetics, but get an idea what it looks like growing, see it. Finland, they issued some of the most beautiful coins, and they produced a lot of them. And these are bimetallic pieces. This is a 2007, €2 bimetallic. That's what they call the cloudberry flower. which is very similar to the raspberry, which also grows there, and you'll see that in just a bit. But some things too, there's several different varieties, especially these. The mint produced them during one year with several different dyes. And so this is just one of the varieties. I point out the cornucopia here on it and the mint mark below it in the ear, but you'll see it in the next slide as some of the other varieties. This is what actually it looks like on the ground. Again, it's a vine, much like your strawberry or raspberry that you'll see coming up next. But these are the two types of mint marks. Just something if you want to further follow up here, but it just shows where the two different details were issued. Now, even though it says now in 2008, they were issued in 2007 as well, the 2007 date. So both types exist in both years. Something interesting. I guess they knew a lot of reviewers verses there for collectors of us like to see. Here's the rasp. Now, everybody calls it a raspberry. It's a rasp, R-A-S-P, raspberry. Belongs to the rose family. But here we see it on the 1999 €2 from Finland. Common when you travel over in that area. And this is one I picked up when I was traveling over in Europe many years ago. And we'll go on here. Here's France. I love this particular one here. This is the 2017, 50 euros, 1/4 ounce gold proof. Now look at their proof compared to other proof designs. That is a proof coin. It's hard to believe, but it honors something. We talked about the artichoke, which we showed a little bit earlier, but it's actually a thistle. Many spines, you're familiar with it. The center is edible. You can do it, but it's called. We'll move on to Gambia here. Well, we're all familiar from this. One of our longest living presidents, Jimmy Carter, grew these in Georgia. But here's the one Butant coin. It's actually, and they call it there the Gambia groundnut. Well, I guess it's on the ground. It does produce seed pods, if you want to call it that, above the ground. So it's there to see on the one Bhutan coin, but it's actually got a raised area in here too, on the back of the coin. Kind of interesting. You don't see that any unraised. On to Germany. Well, you haven't seen a chestnut. Too bad they're not colorized. They didn't colorize many coins. Some countries haven't done. Germany's one that's done maybe just a couple of coins recently in the 2023 and 24 time. But here's a chance to take a look at the plant because it shows the leaf. Here's the leaves here with the seeds coming out. I picked this particular one out of our files at UCLA. Again, here's some of the other ones. Now we get into some interesting ones. The cocoa beans, you ever seen them? Ever seen a cocoa bean on a tree? Sometimes you got little foreign markets. Got one close to my area here in Encino, that's the farmer's market. And they have all sorts of breadfruits and all sorts of wild things in here. But here's this 1967 one pesos from Ghana with the cocoa beans on it. And here we see the actual design. Gibraltar. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on peonies and roses, but they're very similar. There are 33 different varieties and species of these. And to see it on the coin, one crown coin is a regular circulated coin that's used, but they originated in China. So they're not British, and yet the British claim them. Kind of interesting. Greece, they do some wonderful ones too, and they issue a lot of them. This is how they subsidize, I assume, a lot of their money. But if you notice that most of their silver and gold coins are in a lot less quantity of gold. Most of the silver coins here in Greece are 0.333 silver. I have a friend at a restaurant who picked up many of these for me because he comes from Greece. He goes back there every year. Makes me pay a fortune. I have to do some dishes there, I guess, to get these, but it's worth it as a botanist. But here you see the particular campanula plant growing on it. You see the other, both has both sides. Now, the one side is not colorized on the right, but the left is colorized on the reverse of the plant. Here's the actual plant itself. Interesting. Another one from Greece. Look how delicately they put this. These are all euro coins, but they're non-circulating legal tender. They're made for collectors or people that want them as souvenirs. Here's the actual plant, the peonia being seen in the wild. This is one of the cases that he provided for me with the coin in it, which we saw earlier. So we just saw this particular one here. And this is the holder that coin came in, Paeonia pyronoea, endemic flora to Greece. This is how they sell them. And if you do it here, if you buy them from foreign mints, the foreign postage, the international postage can be a fortune in some of these countries. And it may take you a month or a month and a half to get it through the mail. I found that out the hard way. But Greece, the island of Crete, has this one unique little flower here, a little tulip. We're getting close to our hour time. We're getting back GHI. We're almost down to the end. We'll take a look at the tulip here. It's a 5-euro coin again on circulating legal tender. But you can see what it looks like in the wild there on the island of Crete. Guatemala, look at this tree. This is one thing that I'd love to see. Can you imagine this particular silly? But we'll see it later on. And we get to a couple of other countries, but they didn't do too good a job here. But the free growth is fertile. Notice what the sign's saying here below the 5 centavos. The capo leaf is up here around it as well. The leaf of this tree is around the coin itself here, the 1971. Guernsey, well, the Baltic up. Gee, you're all familiar with tomatoes? Why on earth would a country? I have no idea. But tomatoes, I guess perhaps they're a specialty or a desired fruit, but there's many, many. Well, the Solena epicosium growing there. Guernsey again, here's another one. They get a £1 note. I'll give you a chance to look at these when you get home, or you can see the program later. But there's a pink flower showing there. Most of them are reds or reddish pink combined. That means they've on here. Another one from Guernsey. It's hard to say. It was a 50-cent piece, 1992. Proof coin. Too bad the yellow isn't there. This is what the flower looks like from the Friasia. Whoops, got Miss Ganabasu. Well, you're probably familiar with the rice plant on the coin. Reverse of the 20 pesos here. It's a chance to see what it looks like in the wild. If you haven't seen it, haven't been, you were in Vietnam, you'll know the rice paddies. I do, or did. Guyana, another way too, is also the rice paddies. This is from neighboring countries in Africa, $1 and $5 coins. Both show the same coin. One held in a hand, one held in with the sugarcane harvest here in the $5 one itself. It's interesting. Ever see a paddy layout, you know how long it takes to do that? It's all done exactly the same year after year after year. Hong Kong, well, something you're probably familiar with. This is an old coin, 1949, the Hong Kong Derby YR38 silver dollar. It's called the bamboo dollar. And these are what? Expensive. Can you imagine having to pay at least $650 for one in very good if you can find it? But they have pretty good detail here. Here's the bamboo plant itself. Hungary, again, just a regular circulated coin, but this is what this particular iris looks like, the iris variegata. It's interesting to look at it too on the card of the coin. I'm trying to rush here a little bit because I want to keep it under an hour if I can, or at an hour, which we're just hitting. But then again, here's another one too. There's a note there, eating the bulb is highly toxic. But here it is on the coin. Heck, it looks much better and much colorful. Oh, the beauty is brought out in nature by seeing the plant as well. Isle of Man, well, Asteraceae here, not a bad job. It was colorized, but isn't it sort of colorized with the natural toning? Yeah, could be. I guess you could say that's part of it as well. We're going to come up to India. You've probably seen these before. The floating lotuses on many of their coins. 1970s at 10 rupees. It's often called a sacred lotus. There's also notice in the center, an insect doing its job, pollinating and perpetuating that particular species. Here we have Indonesia. You're probably all familiar with nutmeg. Use a lot of your cooking recipes here, ladies. But here's what the leaf on the coin, here's what the leaf and the seed look like on the coin and in person. You've seen this center all ground up into a powder. Another Indonesia one here. So just their jasmine. Not much of a color, but here's what it looks like, the beauty that's there. It's their national flower. Iran, we're coming up to the end here, the 100 reales. These are hard to come by. But it's a Persian narcissus. Actually, it's a daffodil. But again, the bulbs, the roots are poisonous and can kill you. There's some color we're going to leave off here with Israel. Of course, you'd expect to find this. It's a native grown in the Palestine area before it was the state of Israel. 1973 Fibrogrot with the what? The pomegranate fruit. Think of all those seeds, how many pomegranates each one. You're going to ask me? Well, according to statistics, there can be anywhere from, 75 to 125 seeds, which is the edible part. That's how many plants each one can produce. Well, we're coming to the end of the program, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I may have rushed through a little bit, but those of you can see it. This is actually done for a program I did a couple of years back on for my students and staff there. But we've got a beautiful shrub. Here's a Samoa coin with the colorized holly leaf. Here's a Sweden, a Christmas relief, and take a look at the theme. And we do a program called Botany of the Holidays. This is one from my program done in 2018. We just did one last week. And an overflow crowd of the public comes to our garden. But this is some of the beauty that we see out there in the garden itself. So at the end of part one, I hope you enjoy this, and we'll perhaps come back January 9th, wishing you the blessings of a happy holiday. If there are any questions or anything else, I will turn it over to you, Paula. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed a little bit, and we'll come back and enjoy a little bit more for part two.
Yeah, thanks, Walt. Do you mind stop sharing?
Okay.
There's not an unrelated question that I just wanted to address, Kevin, that you asked about a website that's good for learning to grade coins. The ANA Education Department has a lot of opportunities on our website. You can go to money.org/e-learning and you can gather some information there. Are there coins with the American chestnut tree represented on them? I saw you had a Chinese chestnut tree.
No, not that I know of. Only the yucca is one of the ones.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the one I could find from a commemorative, because it was a Spanish trail. And it traces that from Florida to El Paso, Texas on that particular coin. So no, nothing else. We've had nothing on our coins. They're not even colorized yet. We're the only major nation behind.
When I go through, I sometimes give tours in the Money Museum, and when we go downstairs and we look at the history of money, and I'm always saying, well, which we have all that world paper money down there, and I always ask, well, which one do you think is more exciting, our US money or the world paper money? And they're like, that is a little more exciting because it has so many colors. It's just funny that.
Well, you'll get more of that in part two. I got more of the currency in that one too, because I put to combine the currency and things. I didn't know how this was going to work out, because the students don't care. Most of them get through this part, and I don't have to get to that one for a while, so I can delete those slides.
There you go.
But I put into it, you'll get a chance to see several countries. Australia with eucalyptus on the currency itself, right next to the portrait growing almost over the Queen.
Wow, cool.
On their $2 Australian note. So
yeah, very
there's
cool.
some of those in there too. I just did a couple here. Like I said, I didn't know how this would take, but do you think it was a distraction to have that information on the side for them?
Let's talk about that once we wrap this up. I'll send you an email.
Okay.
Okay. No, it's okay. We just have a few more questions. I just wanted to get to them before people drop off.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Are there British coins that have botany on them?
Yes. Yes, there's many.
Yeah.
And they're coming up. They're under United Kingdom. So they'll be in the next part.
Just haven't gotten there yet.
Gold coins, silver coins, non-circulating. They even have one of the new ones has the coronation for the new king.
Oh, cool.
Over on the sides. They put one out.
Okay, we have one that says, are there any coins or metals featuring the Eastern hemlock? I just want to thank all involved for this presentation. What a wonderful marriage of numismatics and botany. There you go, Walt.
There might have been. There's so many coins out there with plants on, even that have no color. I didn't want to include. There's probably, God, we could fill probably 700, 800, 900 slides.
Yeah.
There's so many that we issued over the years. Some were 1 or 2 years, some were series, some were just one thing. The country changed its name, like Rhodesia.
Right.
We knew that what happened there to
Yeah.
Zimbabwe, so those things,
Hard to know, right? It's just an unending
they're
amount of
there. I'm
information.
sure they're in my collection. I couldn't put everyone. I just wanted to put some good ones when I was comparing them with the photograph of the actual, especially the orchids or the Canadian ones. And at the end of the one, part 2, that I have, I think there's 5 slides that have 10 different colors of
Oh.
the Canadian maple leaf. They even have a, what do you call it? My mind's gone.
Oh, that's okay.
When you change the colors, they also have night
Hologram?
that hologram. Thank you.
Oh.
My brain.
No, I'm impressed I came up with it myself.
Thank you. It's a hologram one, but they also have one too that glows in the dark.
Oh, cool.
They have them
Goodness.
compared side by side. I had a friend get me one, and I took pictures and sent it back to him in Canada.
Oh,
Can't get it
fun.
back to him now. They got a mail strike going on. It's
Uh-oh.
been going on for a month. That takes care of Christmas for them. It's still going
Oh.
on.
Yeah,
But-
that's too bad.
But those are type of neat things. But the ones that glow in the dark, I got to get one. But they only make like 200 or 300 of those. They want a fortune. They're talking two,
I was
three,
going to say that
$400.
probably, yeah,
And they're snapped up by local collectors in Canada.
yeah.
You wouldn't believe. Okay.
Tracy, thank you for your opinion. Tracy says she likes the added information. She likes knowing the mintage. So
Okay, good.
yeah, we'll chat about
Oh,
that.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear. Because I added that. Okay.
Yeah. All right. It looks like that's all the questions. So I just want to wrap up by saying thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Walt, for a great
Appreciate it.
presentation. Our NumismaTalks are being recorded and will be available on our website once edited. It does take a couple weeks, so don't expect this out there tomorrow. Please be sure to check for future programs on our website at money.org under the education tab.
Education, good. Thank you.
Yeah, and we also
make sure
have
they know
a
that.
e-learning, money.org/e-learning, where it kind of has everything that we have available through the education department. So thank you everybody for coming. And thank you, Walt, again for a great presentation.